Tuesday, don't miss the explosive series premiere of Stunt Busters, the new speed series that blows the doors off of Hollywood stunt secrets and explores motor myths with the hottest automotive technology on earth. That just looks painful right there. Stunt Busters premieres Tuesday at 8 Eastern with back-to-back episodes right here on Speed. And welcome back to Avondale, Arizona, and the Phoenix International Raceway under our fourth caution of this race, closing in on the halfway point. And again, they will have a halftime break, so the teams are not allowed to come onto pit road and change tires at this time. When they do come onto pit road during that halftime break, they can change tires, add fuel, do whatever they need to do at the car at that time, and then they can also come back onto pit road and add fuel or change two tires, but they can't do it at the same time after that halfway break.
Yeah, exactly. As you see Venerini Motorsports looking on here. Alex Bowman running second right now to Greg Pursley.
Crew's anxious to get to work on some of these race cars and try to tweak them, make them a little bit better, have a little better handling for their drivers. Again, NASCAR has said that around lap 70 is when they're going to have the halftime break for this race. Again, out in front, it's Greg Pursley. Chad Boat currently running in the 9th spot, Bob.
And he's not satisfied with that at all, Rick. In fact, after yesterday, he thought he had the car to beat because he was fastest in practice, just 19 years old. And you might recognize that name, Boat. His dad, a very famous open-wheel racer. He ran IndyCar races here at Phoenix International Raceway. In fact, his dad is a former Copper Classic winner right here on the old configuration of this racetrack. So this race means a lot to him. He would like to get to victory lane, and right now he's looking at running the entire East Series schedule again next year. But this is one of these up-and-coming kids, another teenager, guys, 19 years old, running in the top 10 here in Phoenix.
Teenagers trying to flex their muscles around Phoenix International Raceway here. But they're going to have to get by a seasoned veteran in Greg Pursley, who's out in front. Alex Bowman running in second. Daniel Suarez, David Mayhew, and Derek Thorne, your top five. Eric Holmes, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Chad Boat, and Dylan Presnell, your top 10. 2x2 once again. Following after the pace car, getting ready to restart. And we've seen quite a few different drivers try to put the left side tires down below that yellow line. And I'm sure NASCAR's looking at even the cutting through the dog leg and saying maybe we ought to disallow that as far as potentially for the Sprint Cup race tomorrow.
Yeah, I think dropping the left sides off the racetrack right there in the corners, I think it's probably okay. But as flagrant as the people have been doing it during the nationwide race and also a little bit in this race, I think NASCAR may look at that for the Sprint Cup race tomorrow.
Side by side, 2x2. Pursley on the inside. Alex Bowman on the outside. Green flag back in the air.
Good start by Alex Bowman. He hangs right in there on the outside. Really gets it on throw hard and takes the lead.
Takes the lead on the outside. Alex Bowman in front of the field now at Phoenix.
That's not a sight that Greg Pursley's seen that very much this entire season. With somebody in front of him.
Alex Bowman out in front. Pursley runs second. Mayhew has been able to get in front of Daniel Suarez for that third spot. Suarez drops back to fourth. And Eric Holmes has moved up into the fifth spot ahead of Derek Thorne.
Side-by-side battle between Brandon Davis and the 10 back there.
That's what we were talking about. Chad Boat took the shortcut through the dog leg.
Pulls up even with Ryan Blaney as they enter turn number 3. Dylan Presnell, the 50, right behind that.
The Chad Boat on the bottom of the racetrack. Ryan Blaney on the outside in the 11. Guys starting to try to make that outside groove work. Ryan Blaney trying it in the 11 now. Greg Pursley still chasing after Alex Bowman in the 25. Still a little smoke on the right side now of that number 26 of Greg Pursley. We saw it earlier when he gets out of the gas. Normally when he's getting into turn number 1 or into turn 3, you see a little smoke off the right side. Here, a little smoke out of Derek Thorne's number 9.
Chase Elliott moves to the inside of Derek Thorne. Looks to take over that spot. Dips his left sides down below the yellow line.
2 and 3 wide behind them.
Brandon Davis in the 10 car. Michael Self, the 21, trailing the 11 of Ryan Blaney. Look at this gaggle of cars here. Ben Kennedy on the inside. Dylan Kwasniewski, the 03, thought about running through the middle that time, didn't do it.
Look at how high Brett Thompson in at 61 goes, way up the racetrack.
Yeah, lost some ground too. Here's a side by side. Oh, there's Brandon Davis, pulls up even with Ryan Blaney. Johnny Bornham in the 8, side by side with Michael Self.
That time we saw Ben Kennedy make the move to cut through that dog leg all the way down onto the apron. Little contact made there as the 11 of Ryan Blaney gets a little sideways. Daniel Suarez and David Mayhew battling for the 3rd spot. Alex Bowman, the 18-year-old out of Tucson, Arizona, leading this field.
You know, I've talked to Greg Persley a lot this year as we at Speed have done all the East and West races, and he said that he is so impressed with the young drivers that he's had to race against this year. Talking about one of those drivers being his teammate Dylan Kwasniewski. Oh, trouble! Big wreck.
The 03, as you were talking, Dylan Kwasniewski caught up in this one, as well as the 21 of Michael Self.
The 61 of Brett Thompson has a lot of damage. I think that fluid on the racetrack came. There's Brett Thompson right there. A little bit of fire under the hood of that car. You see all the fluid pouring out of the 61 car for Brett.
See him taking the window net down.
So these guys are going so fast here. They're making some pretty significant contact with the outside wall. Look at all the damage to Dylan's car.
Yeah, he was 15th when this accident occurred. Safety crews immediately to them, making sure they're all right. Michael Self, you see him working on getting his helmet off.
Dylan came into this race 5th in points. Ironically, 6th in points was Brett Thompson, just about 29 points behind. Let's see if we can take a look at what happened. You see they are right there. Kwasniewski gets into Michael Self as they enter turn number 1. Brett Thompson with nowhere to go, but a lot of damage to those, really all 3 cars.
Michael Self was running in the 13th spot.
Yeah, that was 5th, 6th, and 7th in points, all right there together, all involved in this incident.
We've passed the halfway point of this race, and again, NASCAR was expecting around lap 70 that they were going to have the halftime break, and they are now going to make this the halftime break. Once they get the cars all in line and make their way onto pit road.
Look at all the damage to
a lot of wreckage around this racetrack. Bob, what happened with Dylan?
Just got in there a little bit too hot, and basically that's what Jeff Jefferson told him on the radio. But it's been a difficult weekend for Kwasniewski. So much talent this year has come onto this season and this series this year and really taken charge. But he actually wrecked a car yesterday here, had to go to the backup car, and this car was a short track car, so they've been struggling with this car all weekend long, getting it to handle for Dylan around this racetrack. And Jeff Jefferson, his crew chief, a 3-time Northwest Tour champion for the old NASCAR series there, said this is one thing that they're still working on for him at just 16 years old, trying to adapt him just a little bit better to the big tracks.
And guys, remember, this is his first time here. He was not eligible to race this race at Phoenix when we hear back in February.
Saw Michael Self get out of his race car and climb into the ambulance. They'll take him to the infield care center, check him out. So it's the 5th caution, and this time it will be the halftime break as well. When we come back, we'll talk to some of the drivers on pit road. Welcome back to Phoenix International Raceway. The cars coming on to pit road and stopping. Once the final car is in its pit stall and stopped, they will throw the red flag, and that means that they are allowed to then begin working on those cars. That's when the 10-minute clock will start. You take a look at Brett Thompson in the 61. This is why we're under the caution.
Watch the 03 of Dylan Kwasniewski as he gets down in the corner here. Just got in a little bit too hard. Didn't leave Michael Self any room. He was on the inside of Ben Kennedy. And it just carries the 21 of Michael Self and Brett Thompson. Brett with nowhere to go when those 2 other cars got together.
So they put the 61 of Brett Thompson on the rollback, and they'll pull him back into the garage. And it looks as though all of the cars have stopped on pit road. The 10-minute clock has started, as the crews have begun working on their race cars.
Great time to have this halftime break because it's going to take a pretty good while to clean up the racetrack from that 3-car incident. These guys are allowed to do anything they would do on a normal pit stop. They're not allowed to open the hood. They're not allowed to open the trunk on these cars.
And the drivers are going to stay in their race cars strapped in. Let's go down to Bob Dillner.
Down here in a lot of activity on pit road, teams making the tire changes and adjustments to this race car for Alex Bowman. Now let's talk to the leader of this race now. A nice move to get by Greg Pursley there. How good is this race car now that it's out in clean air?
Well, clean air definitely made a huge difference. I just got to thank all the guys at Venturing Motorsports for working so hard on this thing. It's I'm not feeling so great right now. I think I got some carbon monoxide poisoning or something going on, but definitely got a good car for this last little run, and just got to thank Greg Paul Produce. Cool to have St. Jude's on again, and Leader Auto Auctions, and it's real cool to have all my family out here being so close to home.
You know, you look really good on the outside taking that lead, but restarts coming up. Would you choose the bottom or the outside, being how good you were on that outside?
Oh, to be honest with you, I think I'm going to have to go to Jonathan Davis and talk to him about that one. He hasn't steered me wrong yet, so hopefully he'll have a good answer for that. But I don't know. We'll see. I know Pursley kind of likes to be able to use up the racetrack. I think the outside might be the place to be, but he's real good on restarts too, so we'll see what happens.
Alex Bowman, just 18 years old, leading this race, looking real good. We're going to talk to another teenager just in front of him here on pit road, just 15 years old. Chase Elliott in the top 10 right now. You're marching forward. So what we want to know is how good is this race car and how good can you get up there and battle with those leaders today?
It's pretty good. I think we got a little bit tight right there towards the end of that run. Really looking forward to this next segment, and I feel like we're going to make the right adjustments here. As long as we can do that, I think we'll, just put ourselves in position. Maybe we'll have a shot at this thing.
Chase Elliott, like I said, 15 years old. He's actually doing double duty this weekend. He'll fly to Jefferson, Georgia tomorrow to run the World Crown car. He had another guy qualify that car, Cale Gale, for him. We're going to go over here and try to talk to Ryan Blaney, who's another guy battling in the top 10 right now. And Ryan, I understand the car has been really, really tight. What adjustments are you making to make this car better in the second half of the race?
We started off tight and just got worse and worse and worse from there. So, Trent made some major adjustments here to the car to just try to free it up a little bit. So we'll see what we got here in the second half.
Ryan Blaney mentioned Trent. That's Trent Owens, who's a crew chief on the Nationwide Series for Turner Motorsports, guys.
Thanks, Bob. And that's pretty cool. Bob's been able to talk to some of the drivers right in the middle of the race. We were able to follow some of the social networking, and on Twitter, Missouri Race Fan says, is it normal to take a halftime break in a K&N race? Well, before you answer that, Phil, I'll say it's not very normal, because I was talking about once this halftime break was over, they could, come in and maybe change tires or gas. Well, they don't need to. They won't need to add fuel, and they don't need to change tires once this halftime break is done. So it's not very normal, is it?
Well, it is at some of the shorter tracks. I think this is the first time we've ever had a halftime break on a big track, and that's not normal either. See Bob Dillner running down pit road. There you go, Bob. But anyway, on some of the bull rings, there really isn't an adequate pit road, so they do have halftime breaks. But again, we've never had one here. We've never had one back east at Loudon. So I think this NASCAR is looking at that next year, because it's definitely a cost-saving move here, because you don't have to have a high-priced pit crew. You don't have to travel extra people here to pit the car.
Bob Dillner trying to break the mile record here at Phoenix on foot. Pumped Tuesday. Unsuspecting motorists will get ambushed at the pump and given the chance to win cold hard cash. Don't miss the series premiere of Pumped. That's Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Speed. Going to be a lot of fun. We're going to slip away to the Speed Studios with Adam Alexander, get an update from Speed Center.